From Super League to Olympic distance to age group world records to Kona. Go longer with the right fuel at the right time with SFuels.
This is a phenomenal bike ride, and I can tell you he's so casual. This is his first time he's ever biked the full 112 miles here in Hawaii. He's never been up to the turn in Harvey. He's certainly been up there today. Doesn't he look...
Stand in the light. Stand in the light, my friend, stand. We're having breakfast with Bob.
Honcho Man, everybody. Welcome to Day 5, Breakfast with Bob, our 11th year of Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Huggles on the Rocks. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas as Fuels Go Longer, HOKA Let's Fly, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Quintanaroo Zoot, the original triathlon brand, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. And speaking of our Challenged Athletes Foundation, we have a team that is part of Team CAF this year. We have Rian Smoak and Bryce Wooten who are racing. And let's start with you, Ryan. First of all, how did you meet this young man, and how did he decide that you would be okay to guide him?
That second part of that question is a little tricky, but let me take you back to the first part.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob, for having us here today. We're so very honored. In 2017, I had the honor of racing here as an individual.
Yeah.
And I knew on that day that was going to be my last Ironman race. Like, this is the Super Bowl.
You've done a bunch of them.
Done them. This is it. I'm going out on top. And all day on the bike, on the run, I heard this voice going, "You're meant to do more. You're meant to do more." I'm like, there's nothing bigger than this.
So is Bryce saying that while you're...
Well, I think so. But throughout the day, just that voice is, "You're meant to do more." And I remember coming down the finish line on the Leahy Drive, seeing the light, waiting to hear Mike Riley's voice. I cross that finish line, I cheer, and I'm like, oh man, I'm about to throw up. Don't do it on Mike's feet. So I walked off a little bit, did my thing, and I'm going to take one last look back to take the end of this mental snapshot. And I remember looking back at that finish line and went, I know what I'm meant to do. And that's to give somebody with a different ability that feeling of crossing a finish line.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't think I want to bring somebody back to Kona.
Right.
But I want to give somebody that rush of what I just experienced. So looking back, Bob, that finish line became my new start line. And from that point on to where we are right now, we've been focused on, inclusion, doing amazing things. We've raced together for the last 5 years. So my point in leaving from there was I knew nothing. I didn't know the equipment that I needed to get. And the biggest thing is I didn't know what mom or dad would be crazy enough to let me take their son or daughter and put them in a kayak, a cart, and all this stuff. And I knew of Bryce and his family from him being friends with my son, but I didn't know Bryce. I knew of him, but I didn't know him.
Okay.
And I reached out a few months later. I was like, "Hey, bud, remember me?" He's like, "Of course I remember you." I said, "Would you be interested in doing, some running races, something?" And to Bryce's, I'll let Bryce, take it from there. But, at that point, I knew I needed somebody that was special and that just got it. And him and his mother just have been like, let's go live life and let's go experience things. And so that's where we are today. There's a lot of things, life experiences that changed my life dramatically and others along this journey. But that's where we came to that point, and Bryce has been the best race partner I could have ever imagined.
So, Bryce, talk a little bit about when this crazy guy approaches you and said, "Hey, I want you to trust me implicitly with your safety."
Well, it was a Friday morning. I remember it distinctly. Had just gotten done with one of my college classes, and he said, "Hey, I want to run an idea by you." And he said, "I want to run a race and possibly push you in a cart and run like 16.1 miles in the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon." And I said, "You do realize I'm in a wheelchair, right?" I said, "You do remember that." And I just remember him saying, "Well, how about I take you to breakfast next week and we can talk about it?" And I remember him just thinking, okay, this is a crazy idea. But I have always been one to test the limits. I've always been one with cerebral palsy that has not let my cerebral palsy define who I am.
Yeah.
I've always been told that I'm the Rick Vaughn of cerebral palsy. I kind of go by the beat of my own drum. I don't really see myself as a person in a wheelchair. I just see an individual that's trying to live his life that happens to be in a chair.
What's been the best part of this journey so far?
Well, getting able to be a part of a team and, raise inclusion and, help teach individuals that just because you have a different ability, you can do amazing things. And you will do amazing things if you have the right people around you.
That is the best. So, Ryan, talk a little bit about the training, because getting here is one thing. People see, okay, race week, but what people don't see is the behind the scenes and how many early mornings and long swims and choppy swims and oh my God, what if this tips over? Talk about some of the challenges.
Yeah, I knew during this, that it's that old saying, it takes a village, and there's two of my best friends, Ryan Ellis and Brandon Morris, who are here today. They've been with me, from day one. I remember calling them up going, I have a crazy idea. I need your help.
Yeah.
And we would practice so many, ways to get stronger. With I put 2 concrete bags in the cart when I can't get Bryce with me to replicate that. Putting stuff in the kayak to go out and tow. So the training was drastically different. And looking back now, Bob, I'm actually faster now individually than I was 5 years ago.
Of course, you're pulling a lot of weight.
Yeah, pulling a lot of weight. And I'm actually, for some reason, I'm 5 years older. So we learned a lot. I've dropped Bryce a few times. Thought I broke him, but he is resilient. So again, just working together as a team, as Bryce said, was so foundational to us getting to where we need to be.
Yeah.
And there was things we did outside of the actual physical training that was more important, and that's the team bonding. Because one thing I told Bryce, said, buddy, this is not my world, but I want you to know I am all in on you and your day-to-day living. So we took him on a guy's trip. I was his caregiver for 4 days. And when I did everything for him.
Right.
And I knew that, if we're going to, do our first Ironman in Boulder in 19, which we did, I need to be all in. Because to do this, it takes, full effort from everybody. And we're so thankful for everybody that's been a part of our journey, that's been with us from day one. And without that, we wouldn't be here.
So, Bryce, talk a little bit about the other aspects of this. You're in a kayak, right? You're in a boat, and then you're out on the bike, fueling, staying hydrated. How do you handle that?
I think mostly for me, and what I want to tell future athletes is it's mostly a mental game. If you're not mentally prepared for being able to stay hydrated, being able to stay, on top of your eating, and just being mindful of the situations that you're going to endure, this endurance sports are not for you, because it's more of a 90% mental game and a 10% physical game rather that, because I'm having to sit back and feel every bump for 112 miles, and I'm having to look at his butt for 8 hours. I mean, he's gonna get a bill.
You're welcome.
With all of my therapy after I need that. So Bob, if we can sit after this interview and have a few margaritas and I can just empty my heart out, that would be great. That would be wonderful.
Oh my God, you will need therapy. I forgot about that. We're talking. How many hours was the race where you did your first Ironman? How long was that?
16:23.
Of looking at his butt.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's hazard pay.
Yes.
I love it.
I need a new attorney.
So what was the feeling like when you came across the finish line? Was it worth the 16 and a half hours of butt?
And I get emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I run these races for the individuals with different abilities that were told that they could not do it.
They can't be part of this world.
That I do it because I'm perfectly fine with how my life turned out. I want the next generation and the generation after that to not have to fight as hard as I did for inclusion.
It's fascinating when I talk about this race in particular and the sport. I always say that this sport is an equal opportunity abuser, right? It doesn't care if you're in a chair. It doesn't care if you're missing a leg. It doesn't care if you have CP or MS or if you're not autistic or if you have Down syndrome. Get from point A to point B, and you're an Ironman.
Right.
And for you, for you to be part of this, have there been moments where you questioned, is this the right decision? Is this?
Sure. When I was growing up, I didn't have athletes to look up to that looked like me. I was forced to look up to guys like Michael Jordan, The Rock,
Right.
Chipper Jones, stuff like that. So what Ryan and I are trying to do is inspire the next generation to be like, if Bryce can do it, if Kyle can do it, if Rick and Dick Hoyt can do it, if Team Liza can do it, so can I. I want somebody to be able to look up to me and be like, I can go live life like Bryce did.
Of course you can.
Yes.
So when you're out there, I remember when Dick and Rick, we were talking to Dick back in the day, and basically with him and Rick and the bike, it was 400 pounds of stuff, right? Heading out to Javi, and we talk about the athletes on their 16-pound super machines.
Yes.
And basically, you guys are, what is your total weight, do you know?
We're right at about 400 pounds.
400 pounds?
Yes.
And you're going to be heading out to Javi and then back from Javi with those crosswinds. How have you been out there, and how's it been?
We did. We went out yesterday to get a taste of it, and it was a rude awakening. Yeah, we're not going to sugarcoat it. But we got a good sense of it, and we're ready for it.
Right.
And we just know that whatever comes our way, we're going to deal with it 1 mile at a time and give it everything we have.
Yep.
Have you been out in the water in terms of trying out to swim yet?
We're going to throw Bryce in the kayak here in about an hour.
Okay.
And send him out to sea and hope he comes back, and we'll see what happens. But we're going to go out there and swim around a little bit and just get reacclimated with that.
You know, Bryce, I remember Dick Hoyt telling me once when he was doing this race that he was pulling Rick in the boat, and there was actually people hanging onto the boat, so that they got a little bit of a free ride. Have you noticed that when you guys are out there racing, people are trying to get on your boat?
That's funny you mention that, because our first Ironman in Boulder, Ryan said the exact words. He said, if people try to get on your boat, tell them to get the hell off your boat. This is not a life preserver. So
no free rides.
He said, I need to get like one of those like whipping sticks and just like whip their hands, and I love it. It's like take no prisoners. We're here to, kick ass and take names, and that's it. I
love it. And what do you think the feeling is going to be? 'Cause it's one thing to finish Ironman Boulder or a different Ironman, but this is the Mecca. This is it. Coming down this finish line, hearing Mike Riley call your name, what's that going to mean to you?
Well, to know that we're the first group of friends that are not family related to try something this stupid is pretty cool. To know that this is the closest thing that I'm going to get to, representing my country in, a world championship, format is pretty awesome.
I love it. And for you, obviously you've done a lot of races. You've done this race before. When you finished that first race with Bryce, did the light bulb go on across the finish line that this is exactly where I'm meant to be?
Absolutely, Bob. And I envisioned that every day during training. That was what I focused on, what that finish line would look like. What we weren't expecting, the plot twist, both of our mothers were able to be at the finish line to give us our medals.
Oh, my God. How
and to
cool is that?
see Bryce's mother, Ashley, to see her son, in not
toughest athletic event on the planet.
To see that interaction between the two of them was it was so worth it that I would have done that race again the next day if Bryce wanted to. It was so worth all the pain that I had went through for 9 months training for that moment, that bond between them. So, on Thursday night, when we cross that finish line, it's going to just be that times 10.
I love it. And your thought on when you saw your mom at the finish line, did you know she was going to be there at the finish?
No, and I'm going to try not to get emotional here. My mom and I have been through so much over the last 6 years. My dad passed away 6 years ago, and to see my mom and I be able to share that moment together after so many sacrifices over the last 25 years of my life, and my mom has said yes to everything, every opportunity I wanted to do. I wanted to go to college, make something of myself. Every motivational speaking gig that I've done, she's taken me and been in the front row. So this event and this race and this moment is just as much hers as it is mine.
I love it. Guys, I'm excited that you'll be not only finishing Ironman on Thursday and being part of the CAF family, but that you will that Brian, you'll be down for our best weekend and try in a few weeks.
I will.
I love that. How many people are you bringing down?
I'm bringing 10 to 12 people from my company, Neuros Medical, in for the weekend. We're going to volunteer and celebrate and cheer on athletes all weekend long.
And if you would like to follow us on Instagram, it is Tri Dat 365.
Tri Dat 365. Tri Dat 365. Do not look at this butt in front of me.
Right.
.com.
I need I need to get a bumper sticker that says "Get a butt lift" because I can't. You need to do some exercises before Thursday and get that thing just, please.
Under control.
Yes.
Get that under control. Poncho Man, how about a round of applause, you guys, for Team Tri Dat? Poncho Man, take us out.
Stand in the light, stand in the light, my friend, stand, 'cause it's breakfast with Bob.
Team Tri Dat, everybody.